had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPR.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward.
Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans.
Welcome to Paratruth.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fierster, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
The Power Agency is built for those who move like predators, decide like weapons, and execute like their life depends on it. You're either fully in, or you're invisible.
Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it.
Quick.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Welcome everyone to UFO Undercover. I hope everyone's having a great day, great morning, great evening, wherever you are on our big, beautiful planet. God, I've been saying that for like 26 years now. It's kind of weird. We have a great guest tonight, Stephen Bassett's with us. I'm going to bring him up in just a second. Remember, there's a lot going on, people, so keep up with everything going on. And for everybody who keeps writing to me about Atlas, we'll talk about that with Stephen in a few minutes. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. If ET wants you, I mean, really, there's not much we can do about it. So
absolutely zero.
I guess we're just here along
Run
for the
and
ride. And of course, we do have quite a few other abduction things coming up in the near future, and we'll be talking about that. Actually, that'll just be going out as separate promos and separate entities and stuff like that. Don't forget, Heidi, following this wonderful show, of course, is my great friend and station manager. What's her name? Michelle DeRoche. She'll be on following us, so don't forget to hang out with her. Michelle always does a wonderful show, and she's a great friend of mine and a great station manager as well. She keeps you off from making me have to kill anybody, so it's a really good thing. She's around. But on that note, we're going to bring in our guest, who is a favorite friend of mine. I've been knowing Stephen for a long time, and to be honest with you, he's probably done more for me getting into this field way back in the day than anybody I knew. Stephen, welcome, man. How you been?
It's been a long time, Joe. Too many years.
I know, it's been great. I was just telling Jay just a little while ago, you really helped me out when I was first getting in the field. Which we're not going to say how many years ago that was. I don't want to date either one of us here. People, it was a long time ago. So that's all I can tell you. It's been a long, long trip. So how you been? I mean, what have you been up to? What kind of trouble have you been getting into might be a better word, better question.
I'm doing the same thing Joe I was doing when I walked into this issue in July 1990. Well, actually January of 1996. Yeah. That's all I've done. That's all I'm interested in. And
that's your thing, right? I mean, that's you want disclosure. I mean, that's what else can we hope for? At least public disclosure would really be nice at this point. I'm getting tired of I'm just getting tired of denial, I guess is what I was going to say. So I mean,
there's a bit of ridicule attached to that too, though.
Yes, it's Stephen's probably done more for disclosure than anybody can personally think of. He's just always out there plugging away. He's always fighting a good fight, which I know as well as he does. It's a tough fight. It's not like our government just wants to say, well, people, guess what? Here you go. It's not that they can't tell us. They just for some reason feel the need to hold back. What do you think it is, Steve? Why do you think they're trying? Why do you think this is still such a big secret all these years later?
The short answer is that It's the most important issue in the world today, maybe in the history of the human race. 2, it broke out in a major way as we entered one of the most another extraordinary episode in human history, which is the nuclear arms race. And also at a time when we become a technological world at a very high level, when spacefaring, all of these things. So because of the nuclear arms race and the threat of annihilation at all times, we built up a huge defense system and classification system, as well as a intelligence system to protect us. Other nations did the same. And that virtually has paralleled with the entire modern era of the ET UAP issue. So the decision was made right after Roswell that we're going to keep this tight until we know what's going on. And then as time went forward, then the phenomena manifested and the Cold War got worse. That decision was basically solidified. In other words, I think for the typical position, I think that a person within the DoD or the armed services would have been, look, we'll get to this ET issue. We'll bring this out after we've gotten over this issue of nuclear war. Can we get, once we get past that? Because we literally live on the edge of it every single minute of every day.
That's true.
And I understand why they would go, look, we don't want that in play. It's too big, too complicated. We got to focus on avoiding that nuclear war. And once we've gotten over that, then we'll do this. Now, when they were making these decisions back in the 50s, they probably had no idea that the nuclear arms race would still be going on 80 years later, that the number of nukes would eventually peak at 86,000.
Yes, it was insane.
They had no idea. So I respect that. I respect that decision. That's the principal reason why it has stayed in place. The truth embargo stayed in place. There are other periphery reasons, but that's the main one, and I respect it. But the nuclear arms race got a very significant break after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And there was a very important opportunity there to maybe now engage this issue. There was an attempt to do so, literally right around that time. And the DOD made the decision not to go there, shut it down, push back. And that was maybe the right or wrong decision. I don't know. I think it was the wrong decision. But before it could be reconsidered, Cold War II began. And that has continued since the late 1990s. And today we're closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. And so the truth embargo remains in place. But the extraordinary 8-decade effort on the part of thousands of regular citizens, citizen journalists, citizen researchers, citizen activists, witnesses coming forward, has put so much pressure on this fundamental embargo, this lie, that it is collapsing. Whether they want it to collapse or not, it's past that point. And so we're now very close to getting at the end of the truth embargo, regardless of what the nuclear war situation is. And that's the situation right now as we approach the next phase of this process.
Well, no, I agree with you. I really think at this point, what the hell is that?
That is the doomsday clock that Steve just mentioned. It is 89 seconds. I believe he's right. It's 89 seconds to midnight. It's what is that? A minute and 29 seconds? That's
yeah.
I've seen it short. I've seen it longer. I don't.
No, this is the closest. This is the absolute closest.
Is it? This is the closest,
dude. Yeah.
And there are analysts and pundits from many sectors, right wing, left wing, academics that are putting out pieces about the fact that we are literally as close as we've ever been. Annie Jacobson, I think, made a pretty good point a few years back when she wrote her book on nuclear war, and she's been making some appearances on major podcasts. I think like possibly Diary of CFO, maybe Jesse Michaels. We are really that close. And I don't expect everybody to think about that all the time, every minute of the day. They can't. They got to live their life. But I'm an anti-war activist and a disclosure activist, and that's all I do is think about this stuff. And so we are close. And there's a reason that massive underground facilities are being built in multiple countries. We've got to deal with this, right?
No, we got to deal with it. No, we have to.
And it's not the first time that these kind of structures have been built. I mean, isn't it Darren Kuyu? It's like goes, I think, 1,000, 1,500 feet under a mountain, and is enough with ventilation and what seemed to be indoor plumbing, holds like 7,000 or 8,000 people, and built by primitives. I mean, so yeah, someone's aware of something about to explode, and they're getting ready for it.
Well, the FEMA map got a bunch of people in trouble. This was over a decade ago. A guy was doing a FEMA thing. He was just something to do with not for national disasters. And he had a big map of the United States up behind him, and it had green, blue, and red dots on it. The blue dots were active underground facilities. There was at least 200 or 300 on the map. Then there was red dots, which ones had been closed down, and you knew that because the first one they showed was the DC. And then they had green dots, which are ones under construction. So I remember this. This was funny because about 5 days after I seen it, there was an article came out where the gentleman had been fired because he didn't do it. You could actually tell he wasn't trying to leak anything to anybody, or maybe he was, but he was just trying to show people where they could go if there was a natural disaster, if you lived along the coastal regions. Now here, the underground facilities that we knew existed originally have all been either privatized or taken down. Now they've got, the salt domes and stuff. They got salt domes that can hold 100, 150,000 people easy. And there's several of them. We also know that because that's where George Bush went when the war was about to start last time. So right now we're in a precarious situation. I don't really know if Russia can actually hit the United States with nukes anymore. But absolutely. I do know there's actually a reason I'm saying that. First off, Elon Musk has more satellites than they have nukes. And Elon already told this to Putin. He made it just public to everybody. He said, I can knock down any continental ballistic missile you see. All I have to do is run the satellite in. And
I've never seen that, bro.
Yeah, he made that very public. So they can't get a continental ballistic nuke here. And since we tag every submarine they have, I don't know if they're actually a real threat anymore. They are a threat to the rest of the world. And
Joe,
any nuke explode anywhere is dangerous, but I don't know.
Look,
plus,
Joe,
we do have a pretty good missile defense shield across the United States. So you've got like 4 layers now. It'd be hard to get a nuke here. It's not going to be like the old days where they get 2,600 nukes here. They might get 1 or 2. They're not going to get any more than that. Now we'll get all of ours there.
I love you, Joe. But not a thing you just said is true. It's absolutely wrong. That is not the situation.
Well, no, the thing with Elon Musk is absolutely true.
No, it is not true at all. Elon Musk blows smoke and puffs himself up and does a lot of stuff. And
we know the satellites are there. We know the satellites are there, and we know they can be moved and controlled.
Nothing to do with the ability of Russian nukes to get here.
Yeah, Russia, it is. There's a lot. All I got to do is bump the nuke. The nuke goes the other way. The nukes are not under control once they're in space. There's no more patrol. There's no more pellet in there. They're just on a course coming down, and if they're bumped, they go out. He's already proved this, doing this with other things in space, bumping garbage away from. He actually showed how this can be done, and Putin had a freaking hissy fit over it. Putin got on television and had a hissy fit. He wouldn't have got mad if it wasn't true. So there's a good chance that most of his nukes can be knocked away. He got so mad he said, "Well, I'll just keep building nukes." And you know what Eli's answer was? I can build rockets and satellites way faster than you can build nukes. I mean, they got into a big argument on world television about that. So it upset Putin. So there's got to be something to it, because Putin wouldn't have got upset if he thought he could get his nukes here unabated. I'm not saying he's not going to get any of them here, because he got 2,600 on warheads. I mean, warheads on missiles. That's a lot. And he's probably got another 2,500 sitting on a shelf somewhere that can be put on warheads. But does he have the missiles for that? I doubt it. And then there's another problem with Russia. I'm not even sure if because Russia's not like the United States, where we hit a button, all of our nukes launch. There, each individual commander has to authorize the nukes to be shot. I'm not even sure if you can get them all to do it. And on top of that, we know where a lot of their nukes are. It's not like it was in the 90s. It's a much different scene today. He's not going to get 2,600 nukes in our country. It's just not going to happen.
Do they no longer have mobile half tracks with missile launchers on board?
They got several of them. I think last time I checked,
once they move, they're hard to find again. You got to.
But then remember this: the last 5 test missiles Russia launched blew up before they could get into space.
Ooh.
These are all old continental. These are Soviet Union nukes and MIRVs. These are not things that I would be relying on to get here. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying they can't get any missiles here. I'm just saying they're not getting 2,600 of them here. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they can't wipe out D.C. or New York or L.A. or Chicago, because they probably can. But can they level the United States? No, they don't have that ability anymore. But we still have the ability to level. But it doesn't matter. None of it matters, because if we level Russia, what happens? We share the same trade winds with Russia as they share with us. Either country gets nuked, the other country gets bathed.
The way the trade winds would work, if we blow up Russia, it'll go across, and China would be the most affected. By the time it gets to the East Coast here, where I am, it would still affect us, but it won't be as powerful as.
But it's not going to be just a one time. It's going to keep rotating around the planet for what, 100 million years?
Less and less, and dissipate more and more, and go.
But it don't matter. All y'all will be dead long before that happens. So underground. So what underground facility are you going to, Steve? Where are you at these days? Where are you hiding at these days?
I'm 2 blocks from the White House.
Oh Jesus! Well, I love you, Steve. Well, no,
my favorite city, but I don't think I could ever live there.
No pain, no suffering.
Look, well, that's true.
I brought this subject up, so I'm going to put this on myself.
Go ahead.
Subjects, and let me just simply state for the record that I have a very different point of view on.
That's good.
That. And then let's just move on and talk about the ET issue.
Okay.
Well, no, that's nothing wrong with that, and it's good to debate. And
no, I'm just saying that.
I mean, I trust your opinion on a lot of things, Steve.
It's not my key issue. It's peripheral in a sense, but
well, I just hope it never happens. At least, I just hope it never happens. Any way it goes, the world's screwed. No, I mean, in any ways, it's any way we go. Whoever does whatever way, it doesn't really matter, because we're all screwed. It's not. I can't really. And I know we're going to move on, but I can't really see, regardless how nukes land where or how. I just can't really see how anybody's coming out of this in any good shape.
Of course not. No, it's disaster. It's catastrophe.
And this is also something that's more for Friday's show, News on the Flip Side, which is on Fridays at 10. So.
Yeah, but it is true, and we do talk about it. It's I'm just worried. I don't want to, I thought, I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought really and truly, I guess in the late 90s and early 2000s, I thought this was a done deal. This wasn't something we're gonna have to worry about anymore. And then the Ukraine war starts, and then there's pushback, and the whole time I'm thinking, well, we had an agreement with them that we wouldn't let anybody invade their country, us and Europe. Of course, we just ignored that agreement. Probably a good thing, because Russia couldn't have beat us conventionally, so there would have been no other choice for them but nukes. So I don't know. I'm just hoping they can come to some kind of agreement and we don't all get barbecued. I have other plans. I live on the coast now. Beautiful setting on the beach. I'm going to die peacefully in my old age. I'm just saying, that's what I'm hoping for.
That's what I'm hoping for too. The first person in my family is on my dad's side. His uncle, I guess, would be my great uncle, passed away in his sleep, and I don't think I was 8 or 9 or 10, somewhere around there. And I just thought to myself, if I have to go, that's how I want to go. Nice and peaceful. You go to bed.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying. I wish I'd have known you with us. Even I've been to DC 3 times since January, and I wish I'd have known you were there. We could have got together, had some coffee. I was at the press club, once for lectures and 2 for other stuff. But
you're at the press club.
Yeah, well, I was given a lecture there, but so I don't want to make this about me. But I will tell you this: I was there. I don't want to say in secret. It wasn't so much it was secret. It was just classified. Might be a better word. But we'll talk about that. We can talk about it, but I don't want to take away from what we're here to talk about today. You and I can talk about it after the show or on your show one day or something, because I don't want to talk about what we're here to talk about. You'll love it, though, when you find out. But anyway,
my office is in the National Press Building.
Jesus, I wish. Oh,
press club is on the 13th floor.
Oh God, I wish I'd have known that, because I'd have loved to have seen you. We ought to took you out to lunch. We had a good time. Stevens, who's actually introduced me to, what was it, Edgar Mitchell and Buzz Aldrin, I believe, and the gentleman that was flying the the plane in World War II, and I can't think of his name right now. It was one of the best lunches I ever had. That was all courtesy of Stephen. That was it. X-Files, X-Files. I'm sorry.
Way to go, Mulder.
No, I think it was his ninth time. I don't know, but it was one of them. I think it was the second to last one, I believe.
X conference you're referring to?
Yeah. It said I think it was because on my shirt I think it says 9 or something. Anyway, I wanted to thank you. I never did get a chance to thank you for that. That was a very interesting lunch. I learned a lot. They were very forthcoming with information, and it was nice pleasure. It was just a nice atmosphere to talk, and that was all due to you and all you damn. And I'm still to this day going to say this again. Stephen always put on the best conferences. Plus, I always got to dress nice when I go. A lot of these conferences. Oh, you can come in a t-shirt.
You always dress nice for this show.
Yeah, but I don't want to go do a lecture in a t-shirt. It's just not who I am. It's Stephen always did they were great. The first one I ever went to, he had like 3 tiers running at one time. It was insane how much stuff was going on there. The amount of information, it was far beyond. I don't know, what happened or what, but the amount of information that was going on there was insane. There was a lot of people. And then I remember when I got Pio introduced me to Monsignor Balducci. We had an interesting conversation. I remember he told me that the Vatican knows about extraterrestrials and they think they're on a higher plane with God than I was. Both Pio and I looked at him like, wait, what? Wait, because I didn't speak Italian. She was translating, but it was a great thing. And I want to thank you for that too, by the way. That was a fabulous thing. Now, getting back to what we were talking about, disclosure is interesting because recently I've been really lucky to have come into some stuff that I just was very lucky to we'll just say I was lucky. And some days I feel like the disclosure could happen any day. And then some days I feel like there's other people that are effing it up. I don't know how else to say it. I just feel like that, and it's not always necessarily the government, or sometimes I feel like some people inside the field are a hindrance to what's going on. I don't know if they're disinformation people or what's going on, but it's just I've run into some people in the last 2 or 3 years that make me feel like they don't have our best interests at heart.
Yeah, well, they've had those kinds of people from the very beginning.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. Stephen knows more about this than I do by far. I mean, he is in the trenches of disclosure all the time. I'm doing research on extraterrestrials and contactees and sightings and stuff like that. I mean, but he's in the trenches of this. He knows what's going on. Oh, I wanted to ask you too. You saw, what was his name? Koresh? Is that what his name was?
It was Grush.
Yeah. So what did you think about his testimony? Greer's friend, David. I'm sorry, Dr. Greer's friend. Sorry, I couldn't get that out.
I don't know about that, but David Grush was a major event. It occurred on June 5, 2023, 6 years after the major breakout in 2017, which launched what I consider the final era of the truth embargo. That was, of course, the New York Times articles that wrote several stories all at once.
And when the ATIP videos came out too, yes? That same day. Sorry? Didn't the ATIP videos, the Tic Tac videos, that came out that same year?
All of that. All of that in the 2 print articles and everything that went up online. This was the turning point. And since then, we've been on a relatively steady path that is now in its 8 years in. I didn't think it would take that long. Heading towards probably the finish line, but that was the beginning. And it took a while to get to where the Grush event would take place, but it wasn't by accident. A lot of things had to happen that led to ultimately him coming forward. Not the least of which was creating first the task force, UAP task force. There had been 3 legislations passed regarding this issue, the first in ever. A number of briefings, or basically hearings, but basically briefings prior to that. And so there was a lot of engagement of the issue. And so the more engagement of the issue in terms of the governmental involvement, the more likely something get triggered. And what happened was that it was David Grush that was triggered. He was working at the UAP task force. He was addressing the issue. He was a person to get in touch with if you had something. And some people did, pretty significant people, inside people, firsthand involved people in the legacy programs, it's now called, or what I would simply call the management of the issue. And he took that information appropriately. I'm pretty sure it was to the intel staff of the Senate intel staff and intelligence community staff. Well, some people were very unhappy about that. And so they started to bother him. They started giving him a hard time. He had not broken any rules as far as I know. And he was doing things appropriately, but he got problems. And he's a tough guy. This guy is a serious man. Even though he's got a family that he has to protect, still he's a serious man. And so he was very unhappy about the harassment he was getting for doing his job. And so he did something that is done, but within the system, it is still not easy to do. But a number of people have done this. And he went to the Inspector General of the intelligence community, the Intelligence Inspector General, to make his case that, look, I'm doing something appropriate. I'm being harassed. It's wrong. Please stop it. And he had a very, very strong advocate with him to make his case. Interestingly enough, he had the first and previous Inspector General to the intelligence community, that was McCullough, literally acting as his attorney or counsel. And so he made an impressive presentation. So impressive that the Inspector General's office checked it out. And what does that mean? It means that they went and confirmed his story. Now, his information that he was passing on. In other words, they weren't going to make a decision about Grush unless they were able to check out the information he got, because maybe he is making it up. Maybe he got it from bogus sources. And so they, fully within deep classification, I'm pretty sure talked with the firsthand witnesses, the one we're dying to get in front of committees, and hopefully we will, to confirm his story, which they did, in which case he was given relief, but it wasn't enough because this was a serious issue. And so it's impossible to get full protection on something like this. And there's ways to channel that harassment from the outside in. It's easy to threaten people. And so it continued to the point where he made a decision to be what amounts to a whistleblower. Not in the sense that he was violating the law in coming forward to claim that there are inappropriate actions going on within his organization, but because he was clearly going against a lot of interests that were trying to persuade him not to do it and making threats. And so in a sense, he's a whistleblower. And he came forward, as some do, by giving a very important interview and giving an interview that was then written up. And this all occurred and came out on June the 5th of 2023. I watched the interview live that day with 200 other people, and of course read the debrief article by Kane and Blumenthal, and thus launched a whole new thread, major thread, that has helped to get us to where we are today. And so David Grush is an American hero. He has taken a lot of hits, but he is still standing strong. He's been attacked from within and without. His story is valid. And while he still has limitations on what he can say, and so he can't fully come forward and put out an entire menu of supporting evidence, but there's enough out there and enough people know what's going on, he's true, and that's the beginning. And so, but that's just one person coming forward, and then eventually he able to testify under oath, doubling down on what he said in the interviews, under oath, penalty of perjury. So he's an American hero, deserves a Medal of Freedom. Hopefully he'll get it. But of course, we've moved on substantially since David came forward. There's been another hearing, another major event in the Senate, or not in the House, rather. A major piece of legislation came out later that year of 2023. It was then resubmitted the next year, and it's been resubmitted again this year, the UAP Disclosure Act. And so he helped really launch the last phase of this very long process. And but many others have joined in since then, and we're getting very close.
Did you get a sense, Steve, that he had brought anything new to the table? I mean, I'm not I'm not an expert on what he saw. I didn't see his entire testimony, unfortunately. But what I did see, it seemed to be stuff that almost all of us who've been in this a while have known for a while. And it's like, and Joe and I did a show about the timeline of UFO paranormal events from the 2000s back to, I think we went as far back as the 1800s is where we stopped. But it just seems that he didn't bring anything brand new or nothing that was shocking or amazing. I mean, yes, okay, he brought it to people at Congress who probably didn't know a damn thing, because Joe just did an interview a few months ago, and the people he talked to had no clue on the scope of this. But and I think that's probably, and I haven't met the man, but I think that's what kind of scared him into doing his testimony. But I still don't get the sense he brought anything new. So how do you feel about that?
What you're doing is you're conflating I guess you could say, the research process, with the legal process, the activism process, right? That leads to government action. Mm-hmm. All right. In other words, I'm involved in the activist movement. The activist movement is not about proving the ET presence. It was proven 80 years ago. It's been reproven countless times. Mm-hmm. But obviously, all of that proof, all of that evidence, all that knowledge you referred to has not led us to a place where this issue is being acknowledged, engaged globally, and it's helping to take us forward. Obviously, that's not happening. The government continues to say that, no, there's really not there. Though they obviously are having to, they're getting pressed and going a little further every year. But so that the activist process is what Grush was involved in. All right. Okay, gotcha. And so it's not that he comes in with something totally starting anew. The thing is, he comes in from a position of appropriate authority and position with information that he delivers, not in a book or in a doc or on a podcast, but under oath to a committee of the United States Congress, under perjury, with the cameras on, and that would in an interview, or rather interview in a press conference. I mean, a hearing that was going to be watched by millions of people eventually. That is part of the process that leads to getting legislation and getting disclosure from the President of the United States. These are two different things. You know, if a billion people on the planet knew there was ETs here, but the governments of the planet refused to acknowledge that was true and kept all the information they were learning secret, we're not going anywhere. So it's not just a matter of how many people know. It's about what government does about the reality
of what governments acknowledge. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's what this is about. And I understand that people are wanting these people to come forward and give them something they didn't know, but they're not understanding. They're coming forward and help to resolve the political process.
And so I'm glad you clarified that, because the way I think most news organizations say under his name, when they have like the little ticker tape things like we have here, they have usually the person's name who's talking, and they said whistleblower, and he's not a whistleblower so much. He's an activist for blowing the whistle, but I don't think he brought any new data to the field. He just brought a lot of quality data to that Congress, to that disclosure hearing, and he scared a lot of people, so they did it again.
Well, he's a borderline whistleblower in that he was coming out against the wishes of a lot of people that had demonstrated they didn't want him to do it. And so he was under pressure, which is usually what a whistleblower is facing. Mm-hmm. So he's borderline, but you can call him a whistleblower. Many of the other people that are being called whistleblowers are in fact not whistleblowers. They're simply witnesses. Yeah, they have something, they want to tell it. They tell it. It's not a problem. They're not.
It's kind of like all the pilots, they're not whistleblowers. They're just witnesses, is what they are. Yeah. Even though there were some great pilots in some of these. I mean, I do like listening to pilots when you hear them say, you know what, I'm a pilot. I've been doing this blah, 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 blah years. And when I tell you it's not ours or anybody else's, you should take it serious. And still people look at them like, well, you sure it wasn't a glitch in the flare? No, it's not a glitch in the flare. They don't glitch. It's a shame that even when you have real evidence stuck in your face, you're going to try to make an excuse for it. And even with whistleblowers, I've watched people try to talk around them or this way or that way. It's almost like, how can I say this nicely? It's almost like Congress doesn't really want to know. It's like in their heart they know this is true, but in their face they just, I don't think I guess because if they know 100% beyond any reasonable doubt, they have to do something.
Well, I think one of the main reasons is they're the more Catholic, more religious section in our two parties, and I think that's part of the reason why they're scared is they're going to have to rewrite, their religious beliefs.
I don't know.
There have been many reasons why the Congress has been reluctant, but most of those are evaporating now. They're less and less a factor at all. There's other reasons why we're still not quite there, but the reasons you're referring to, these were in play in the early decades, but that's all changed. Some of the most vociferous spokespeople now on this issue within the Congress are in fact deeply religious. Case in point, Burchett and Burleson. So that's not an issue. There's different reasons now why it hasn't come out, but these reasons are such that they are workable. We're going to be able to get through this, and they're losing a lot of their power. So, but it's incredibly complicated even now, and it will remain complicated until the last day when we finally get disclosure confirmation from the head of state, which I think is going to be Donald Trump. And so we have to keep pushing forward because it is a very complicated world, and boy, it's no better represented than in Washington D.C. right now.
That's true. Well, when he formed Space Command, I was really thinking, because Space Command, everybody's got to answer to Space Command. I didn't even know that, by the way, until just recently. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're flying something in space, you could be Air Force, Navy, DOJ. It doesn't matter who you are. You have to answer to that. You have to tell them about it. That's like when DARPA was flying their little secret plane around. Well, guess what? They had to tell Space Command about it. It's so I was hoping that they may have been the ones who would come out, because I had found out that they had done so they've talked to every astronaut or cosmonaut who's been on the space station about extraterrestrial UFOs. And I think it was 33 or 37 of them came forward and said, hey, look, yeah, we've seen things buzzing around the space station. No doubt what it was. It was under intelligent control. It's not ours. We don't have craft that can do those kind of things. And a lot of those parts went through Space Command, but still they seem to be just holding them back. Even though now there is a video, by the way, of these astronauts talking about what they saw buzzing around. When an astronaut tells you he saw ET, you should pay attention. I mean, that's their job. One of their jobs is to find ET. We stick them in space. The astronauts are out there in space looking for stuff. And when one of them says, hey, you know what? Guess what? I saw ET. You should pay more attention to what they're saying. But I noticed even mainstream press, a lot of times just kind of, how can I say this nicely? Just kind of just floats it off. And they'll mention it on the news, but they don't really say anything else. Oh, such and such said, and then they move on. Instead of saying, well, this guy's been an astronaut for 35 years. He's got an outstanding career. He just saw something they think is ET. Maybe we should pay more attention. And that kind of bothers me too, because it's I've watched the general our population of our country, and maybe it's because of how much television there is now with dealing with extraterrestrials. They don't seem to be as excited as they should be, even though they know as well as we do this is coming. It's the X-Geners and the Z-Geners don't seem to be. Guys, don't get mad at me. I know we have a large X-Gener and Z-Gener audience, but just don't seem to be as excited. If I go back and talk to a baby boomer or millennial about this, they're all excited. All right, we might get disclosure before we die. These other ones are just kind of like, well, if it happens, it happens. It irritates me, Steve. I'm just telling you, it just irritates me because we need them to also apply pressure to the government. I mean, one of these days they will be the government. Hopefully not when I'm alive, but one of these days they will be the government. And I need to know that somebody's out there banging away for this that's going to get to the truth. And I'm with you with Donald Trump. I think if we've got a shot, it's under Trump's presidency. I mean, he wants to know himself, it seems like. So
he'd be putting his life in danger if he tries it. But yeah, I mean, having that come out would be.
They've already tried to kill him twice already. So what's the third time? I really think that Donald wants to put this. I think honestly, he wants it to be part of his legacy. I just don't know if he knows how he can do it
Well,
how
it
he
looks
could
like
put
he's
it
going to
out
get the
there.
Nobel Peace Prize. Friday show.
Well, that's
So,
good, but that ain't getting it to the truth of extraterrestrials.
it's
And
not.
does
But
he know or
it's
not?
added to his legacy, like you said.
Yeah, so I think he wants to make it his legacy, but it's like what keeps all the rest of these presidents from coming forward. It's what is that, Kimberly? Well, not all presidents actually knew what was going on, but I'm pretty sure Donald at least has an idea of what's going on out there. And I think if the way he presents itself, he'll take it. He doesn't look like a squirmish kind of president. He just doesn't look like that kind of president. I think he's going to go ahead. If an opportunity presents itself, I think he'll use it. I'm just hoping somehow or another an opportunity presents itself. Well, y'all heard the other day he's talking about going out there and visit Area 51. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, wait, what? When?
Oh man, shit! He goes, I'm going out there. I'm just flying out there just to watch the kind of security that goes up around the base. Will he get? What do you think, Steve? Will they let him in Area 51?
Watch me turned around at the desk.
By law, they have to, but will they let him?
I'm sure the president can go anywhere he wants to go.
They told Bill Clinton he couldn't. Bill still talks
He
about.
really wanted to know.
Yeah, I think that's why. I think they were scared Bill would disclose. I think that's what one of the problems was. It's they say the president don't have a high enough clearance. I'm like, really? Well, what do you mean you got the highest clearance you can possibly have? He's commander in chief of the entire freaking country. I think he was bringing military with him.
Above whatever the president can have.
Yeah, well, I bet you what. They tell Donald Trump, no, he'll be out there with a bunch of other military going, you're going to let me in. That's what's going to happen.
He's going to come out there with a sledgehammer to begin with.
I just feel like, and I can't, Christopher, I can't promise you this is going to happen. Stephen can't, Jay can't, but if we got a chance, this is one of the presidents we've got a chance with. What do you mean, JD Vance? I don't know if Vance would do it. And that he has to win to do it anyway.
He's an extremely religious young man.
I don't know if he would do it. I think if Trump gets the opportunity, he'll do it. I think if someone puts something on his desk that says, look, Mr. Trump, no ifs, ands, or buts, this is what this is, I think he'll be the one. I think he might do it in a freaking press conference before anybody knows what's going on.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of disclosure of sorts, Steve, my friend at work, he's in the studio here last night. If you can get him to me, he took some pictures of what seems to be a UFO over his house in Maryland, and I ran out in my backyard. I'm about an hour away from him. I ran out in my backyard to see if I could find it, but by the time I got there, it had gone behind trees or clouds, he'd said. But
there's been a few pictures coming up lately in the Northeast.
Yeah, I think the stagnation is no longer there. You're starting to see some more activity now.
It's I want to see disclosure. I'm getting old. I want to see disclosure. I'm tired of all these games playing around, all this BS we have to hear all the time. This guy, I don't know. This guy, I don't know.
We discussed this, and we've come to the conclusion that disclosures already happened. At least the ATs have disclosed to those they want to disclose that they're here, and nobody else do they care about. So any disclosure that comes on any part is going to be, if they want to tell the whole planet, it's going to be on the part of the aliens, not on the part of any one government.
So Michael Morris wrote in and he said, why does it have to be the Americans? Why can't another country disclose? I don't know if anybody would take it serious if it's not America. What do you think, Stephen?
I think there's a number of heads of state that could end the truth embargo tomorrow. You would start, I think, with the 9 nuclear nations, any of those, and maybe even a few beyond that. Quite a few heads of state are aware of the ET presence, as I prefer to call it, or the non-human, technologically advanced presence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They're aware of it. How much they know and how much detail they know, that remains to be seen. But this issue is not a secret anymore. It hasn't been a secret for a very long time. It's all over the place, and they know. Now, what they choose to do with it is another matter. But if Putin or Xi Jinping, maybe even Starmer, Macron were to come forward, but understand, if a head of state comes forward to say, yes, we are not alone, in whatever words they chose,
oh hell yeah,
they would have evidence. They would be able to provide some evidence that would be supportive of that, and we would be in the post-disclosure world. And so the question is, which head of state is going to go first? Because the head of state that goes first will get probably one of the, if not the greatest legacy of any leader ever. Whatever prizes are out there, that head of state is going to get them all. And that's a big deal. And so, who wants to grab the golden ring?
Well, I know about 4 years ago, Xi Jinping had talked about this. And then, of course, they started having financial problems, so he got on to something else. Well, just recently, most people don't realize it, but China's up there trying to mine helium-3 off the dark side of the moon. I think they're on their 5th probe now. Well, 2 of their probes actually took a video or something watching them. Xi Jinping actually admitted to the fact that while the probes were there, because they brought one, came back with a sample, they said while they were there, they did get images of something that looked like it was controlled by some type of other intelligence, is the word he used. And then that was it. Nothing else came out. It was like, it's almost like he was, and then he just shut up. And I mean, he don't have anybody to answer to. He's the second most powerful person on the planet. I mean, the 3 is Trump, him, and crazy man Putin. People don't get me started on Putin. It's I was hoping Putin might come out and say, hey, look, because he's a little crazy himself. I was thinking maybe he would come out and say, look, we're not alone, people. But I don't understand how the insiders are keeping the 3 most powerful men in the world from saying anything. It's hard for me to fathom, because I know damn good and well those 3 men know. And it's hard for me to fathom what it is that's keeping them from saying anything.
I would have to say it's the ETs are keeping them,
Maybe it is. Maybe it's the fact that they're scared that something might happen to their family. I mean, Trump has a pretty big family. Putin's got that big of a family. He's got 1 daughter or 2 daughters or something. I don't even know what kind of kid Xi Jinping has.
I also put in the speculation, and it's still speculation, because the Greada Treaty, which is an alleged thing that Eisenhower did, and his granddaughter or great granddaughter is doing lectures on it. There's really no hard evidence for it, but if it is a real thing that they really did do the Greada Treaty, an alien U.S. eco-political treaty, that spells out the fact that Eisenhower basically sold human rights for a laser gun, and I think that would make a lot of people angry if it really did happen. But we don't know yet, because it's just right now, as I said, speculation.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation going on, but I just would like to. I'm be honest with you. At this point, I don't even care who it is, as long as it's somebody that has credibility. I don't care who it is. I don't feel that we have to be the first, but I would like us to be the first. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know. So, Stephen, we're going to petition. If this comes out, we're going to petition for you to get a job with these people, just to make sure. I'm serious, man. They got to be somebody to keep an eye on these people. It's we were talking about you. Yeah.
I think I'm aged out on that kind of a job, but I'll have plenty to keep me busy, I assure you.
There'll be a lot to talk about, that's for sure. And I'm ready. I've been ready probably for 40 years, but I'm just ready to see somebody with credibility come out and say, look, ET is real. They've been visiting our planet for quite some time. We've been aware of them. We've kept it quiet for whatever BS reason they want to give us, but now we're letting y'all know they're here. Now I don't know what the next step of that's going to look like. Maybe you can hypothesize on it. I mean, is it going to be panic in our country, or is the world going to chill? Or what are we going to expect? Are we going to expect to see an ET or something? I'm just trying to think of it from the everyday person's point of view. What do you think, Stephen?
We'll be just fine. We're so drenched in that subject. It's hard to find anybody on the planet that doesn't know what a UFO is, and probably even what an alien is. We've manufactured, between us and I think foreign film entities, 600, 700 movies with ETs in them of one type or another, been seen billions and billions of times. This is not going to be a shock, but it will be exciting and important and stimulating and worldview changing. A few people will get upset, but so what? Few people are getting upset every day about something. So we're going to be fine.
I agree,
but it's not something you can prove, and certainly it's a factor in the thinking of people at the DoD and in the intelligence community, as well as other nations, so forth. Not a guarantee how things will go, so they're waiting to get comfortable enough Actually, by and large, they're waiting for us. I mean, we are the straw that's stirring the drink on this issue. We have been since day one back in 47. There's logical reasons for that. And as I've said many times, the two major emerging non-democratic countries, which is China and Russia, have had no interest in going there. They're interested in the subject, I assure you. They're interested in space, I assure you. But they're not particularly interested in telling all of their citizens that you're not alone, and there's a lot more to this universe than our ideological system and the leader that you're supposed to adhere to, and so forth. They're just not interested in that. And so they've given us a break in that regard. However, this is a new world as compared to the 50s, 60s, 70s. And I think that Putin and Xi Jinping clearly must know there are some very significant benefits to them making the first move that overcome what liabilities they may see. And so they could at any time do it. And if they do, the American people are going to be very unhappy, and the United States is going to take a significant historical hit.
Yeah, well, they are. I mean, it's funny because last year I did a couple of TV gigs for Russia for this very subject, actually. And we did one for Pravda, and we did, what was it, TASS? Is that what they called? A gentleman over there found me out of the blue. Actually found me, I think it was on WhatsApp or something, and contacted me and asked me if I would mind. And I was like, no, not really. I said, I don't speak Russian, so I don't know what you're going to do. But all together, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them we did all together. And they were very well received. I was surprised. I mean, I know this much about Russian culture. I'm not going to lie. So I just answered like I would be talking to any American. And it was very fun. It was it was hard though, because his English was about as good as my Russian. So it made for an interesting conversation. But they did very well. And then I was surprised because TASS had actually contacted me about doing something else, which is Jimmy, TASS is a state-run television in Russia is what they are. Well, you know, all right. I'm not going to call them state-run television, but that's what they are. They're state-run television. It's that's what they are. And Pravda is kind of the same, just slightly different. Pravda is where the map of the creator ended up. That's where it ended up with Pravda. But
it's a paper product of propaganda.
Yeah, so it's interesting, you know, that they were that interested that they wanted to see somebody on television talking about it. I think the reason they picked me, to be honest with you, is because I'm probably one of the few people who wasn't talking smack about Putin. You know, I don't really get into world leaders, and you know, unless they're doing something directly that offends our country or my sensibilities personally, I don't really talk about it. It's like Xi Jinping. The reason why we're allowed to broadcast in China, and this was when we were contacted. So we were already broadcasting in Hong Kong before they went back to China. And when they went to China, I was actually contacted by the People's Radio. And basically what I was told was that you can say whatever you want. You can even talk about China. You just can't talk about the leader, which wasn't Xi Jinping, by the way, at the time. And I said, fine, it's not a problem for me. I don't have any problem with your leader. And then when Xi Jinping took over, I was contacted and sent the paper. Matter of fact, you can see me in these little blue clips, in these Chinese clips all over the place. And we do really well in China. And they like us over there. And I don't talk about their leader because, frankly, he's not doing anything that offends me personally. He's not trying to take over my country. There may one day be a fuel race in space, just like the old one in the oil fields of the Middle East. Eventually, we're going to all be trying to get that helium-3 off the planet. They say it's about 100,000 years worth of energy up there. So it'll probably be the American and China that are the ones that are doing it, but still, it'll be the next, you know, big fuel race in society. So it'll replace anything like solar panels or windmills or things like that because we won't need them anymore. This could be used in fission reactors. They can run all kind of on these things. So on this stuff, I should say, and it's all over the moon.
Yeah, those windmill farms got to go.
Yeah, they got to go, man. They're ugly to start off with. And see, the neighborhood I live in, they do not allow solar panels. They say they're ugly and brings down the value of your homes. And I was like, wow, really? Yeah, because I was going to put one, and he said, nope, you can't have them. I was like, I wasn't going to put it on my roof because I live in a hurricane zone, but I was going to put it next to my house. We own an acre next to my house. And I was going to put it there, and he said, oh, no, you can't. I was like, okay, well, that's
Underground,
fine.
why?
Yeah, they say because they're ugly and bring down the value of the property. People actually, I noticed in New Orleans, people started griping when their neighbors would put these big
I
big
think
things
that's
on
really
their
only
roof.
true if you attach. Most of them are attached to the roof.
Yeah, and that's why people don't like them.
Yeah, and it looks tacky and unnatural.
Yeah. So anyway, it was neither here nor now because I didn't do it anyway, so it didn't matter. But that's the reason we're allowed to broadcast in China, and we've got what 12 million servers in China these days, or 14 actually in China now. So it's really nice that we're over there. Yeah, it's really nice that we're over there, and actually they pay for everything. They pay for server fees, rental fees, the whole 9 yards, and internet fees. We don't have to pay for any of it. So it's very nice of them to do so, and it adds a big chunk of audience to our network. I actually met with them in I do Writers of the Future every year. L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future. I got to LA every year and work press out there, and I got to meet the lady who runs one of the largest ones out there. I think they represent 500 million people China-wise, and I got to meet her, and we became pretty good friends now. And she's another one likes to just stick my face. So that's something else they do. They'll stick my face on these blue cards. Never put my name on it, and it'll have like 2 different things on the card having nothing to do with where I was at the time. It's I don't know why they do that, but we're not going to get into that. It's neither here nor now. But it's funny because while I was there, her and I talked. Somebody had told her I was in the UFO field, and we got to talking. And she said, "You talk about that on Chinese television?" I said, "All the time." She said, "They let you talk about that?" I said, "They don't seem to have any problem with it at all." I said, "We have paranormal shows, we have political shows, we have UFO shows, and China doesn't seem to mind." It's kind of surprising to me too, but they really don't seem to care. As long as we don't talk about Xi Jinping, they don't seem to have any problem with anything we're doing. So we stay off of that one, and we talk about everything else. I mean, we talk about China all the time. We talk about how they're in trouble with financially and stuff like that. They don't care. Just don't talk about the boss man. But they do like the UFO stuff and paranormal stuff goes over big over there.
Which is the only one who's noticed there, Joe.
No, Stephen can, but he's about the only one. Other than that,
you didn't say anything either. So
Stephen knows how to shut me up, but the rest of y'all are rookies. What can I say? Stephen is. How can I say this without getting myself in trouble with half of you, Father? Stephen is one of the very few people in the field that I actually really respect. To be honest with you, I think most of them are in it for money or fame or something in between. Stephen's in it for the truth, which is what I'm in it for, is the truth. So I have much more respect for him than I do other people in the field. And he's very good at what he does. He has probably turned, I couldn't put a number on it, but I would guarantee you he's responsible for turning a lot of people towards the Disclosure Project. He's very well educated on it. He knows how to speak about it. He has tons and tons of information. He knows the ins and outs. And he's if you're going to listen to somebody when we're talking about disclosure, you should always tune into Stephen's show or to Stephen. He's just okay. I don't want to swell his head, but still, he's really good at what he does. And like I said, he's one of the very few people in the field that I actually have real respect for. That's me personally, people. Let's don't go get on a rampage somewhere or something. So let's do a little in the future stuff. So let's say Mr. Trump decides that, okay, we're going to come forward in the United States and we're going to say, okay, not only are aliens here, but here's the proof. So you're not going to have to argue with me about it. Here's the proof that extraterrestrials are here. So what follows next? I'm not talking about in our country. I'm talking about worldwide. What follows next? Do you think the other leaders will just fall in place and start talking about it, or will they kind of rebel against it?
No, I think France, for one, would be one of the first to get behind it because of the 80s Belgian flaps. I think England would get behind it. Russia would probably get behind it, but not right away. China would resist, I think, because now they're going to have to realize they're the same as us. They're just because they're communists doesn't make them any better or superior. But I think eventually everyone would fall in line, but it's not going to be, bam. I think it's going to be like, 2016 when we did the show on marijuana, recreational being passed in Colorado during the presidential elections. I said it way back then. I said, within 5 to 10 years, all the states are going to fall like dominoes, and that's what we have to have happen here. Is it won't happen all at once, but some of the big countries go, and then the rest of them will just eventually fall in line, realizing that that's the way to go anyway.
Well, let's see what the boss man's got to say. What do you think, Steve?
The other heads of state will follow very quickly because they all know. I don't think there's any major leader in this world that doesn't know that this is real and has certain level of knowledge about it, depending upon how much they want to know. It's their choice. But they will follow because this is the biggest event in human history, and they're not going to be left out. But they have deferred to the United States for some very logical reasons. We are still the most powerful nation in the world.
Yep.
And for all of the democracies or democratic socialist nations, whatever you want to call them, we stand between them and the more authoritative nations. So they are deferred to us. It's obvious they've deferred to us.
Yes, it is.
And that is, and the fact that Russia, Soviet Union, and China has really not wanted to go there is allowed the truth embargo to still be intact almost 80 years after Roswell. But they will follow suit, and they will have their own evidence. So whoever comes forward will not be standing alone for very long, and that's important. And so once we're in the post-disclosure world, it will accelerate and go worldwide very quickly. And then the question is, what does the world do with this new reality, this new massive change of worldview? Well, one of the first things is everybody is going to want to know as much as possible about what the government already knows, or their government already knows, about any technology, about any breakthroughs, whatever can be brought forward and made useful in a very trying time when we have enormous problems and needs that we cannot service. And that will unfold. It will be an extraordinary time. The post-disclosure world will be unlike anything anybody has experienced ever. It's hard to even measure it. And I just hope to have a few years in it. But I'll tell you, this has been stretching out a lot longer than I thought it would. But I did take care of myself most of my life. So I'll probably get some time in the post-disclosure world. And that's when the real work begins. Just getting the truth embargo ended is a pretty simple thing. Get the government to tell the truth. It's straightforward, but that's nothing. That's just the beginning of what will be a 1,000-year, hopefully 1,000-year process in which we go from being just solar system traveling entities to star traveling entities and God knows what else, and move into realms that we can only dream of now in our science fiction. But it's clear that there are entities out there that are already there, and we may get a chance to meet them. And we also will get a chance, most importantly, in the post-disclosure world, to fix all the things we've broken or all the things we've just not dealt with. We have a limited amount of time to fix these things and make these improvements in order to avoid really major problems, suffering, and so forth. And I'm hoping in a post-disclosure world, the willingness to do that, the motivation to do it, will be there, as it is to a degree. It's not there now. So there's a lot at stake here across a whole broad spectrum of issues. Everything will be in play. Everything will be affected. It's just going to be an amazing thing. And it's unfortunate that it hasn't happened yet. It could have happened a lot sooner. History will judge whether how bad that was or how wrong that was, or maybe it was just right. I don't know. But I think if it had happened as early as 47, if Truman had done this, and he could have, I think it would have gone much better. It would have been an entirely different story, and we would have been in a totally different place. But I'm not going to blame him. He had to make that decision based upon what was known then and what he was staring down. I get that. But so 2020 hindsight. But yeah, it would be.
I think he had it.
You have to go back and do that. See how it would.
I think he had some sort of insight because he and Eisenhower both said words to the effect to be aware of the military-industrial complex at the ends of their careers.
Well, yeah, but Truman knew there was ET presence because he was given the information on Roswell.
Yeah, he was.
That's it. You don't need to know anything more than that. Period. And there's no way that Truman, who was a businessman thrust into presidency because of the death of Roosevelt, there's no way that information was then withheld from a 5-star general hero of the World War II. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And so Eisenhower was completely briefed.
Yeah, he was 100% read in. I agree.
And he also made the decision that no, we need to move forward. By the way, it was under. Let me see if I got this right now. 52. Eisenhower. Yeah, it was still the 52 flyover of Washington D.C. One of the most important events in the history of this occurred just the last year of Truman's administration, but just before Eisenhower took over and while he was campaigning. So again, that was a very significant event that I'm sure influenced Eisenhower's thinking. The Robertson panel, which was formed later in 52, most of its work was done after Eisenhower was inaugurated. And so he was completely privy to the decision making there. And the Robertson panel basically said, look, we got a real problem on our hands. We're going to be dealing with nukes and the threat of nukes for the foreseeable future. We've unleashed a demon here. We're not sure how we can contain it. The ET issue, as long as they're not doing anything to harm us, if they're just minding their own business by and large, let's just keep these two things separate. I get it. And so Eisenhower helped to solidify it. But I believe his statement reflected this view that the nuclear Cold War, the nuclear arms race by itself might not have built the massive intelligence complex and industrial complex that was built because both of those things were happening. In other words, we had this massive secret and huge truth we were dealing with, as well as technologies that had an ET relationship, and then we had the Cold War, and the two of these things together was bigger than the sum of their parts, and justified building the biggest, most powerful military and intelligence complex you could build. And he saw that, he knew that, and so he did he think the ETs were a threat? I don't think so. I think he saw the response to not only the nuclear arms race, but the ET reality as potentially becoming a threat, as these massively secret and cloistered entities doing the research and also maintaining the truth embargo got increasingly more powerful. And he gave us that warning. God bless him. We've used it over and over again, so it's had its impact on the disclosure process. God knows I've used it. Everybody's used it in this field. And I think that's what he meant. Maybe one day there'll be a paper or some private papers that'll come out where we'll actually learn exactly what he meant by that statement, that very important statement when he left office.
Yes, I always wonder because I get this kumbaya thing in my head, like, well, okay, if we know, maybe we'll start to make ourselves, or maybe we'll start gravitating to more of a one world planet as we try to get out in deep space. Because I mean, as fragmented as we are right now, trying to explore the cosmos is going to be hard. Exploring the solar system is different, but exploring the cosmos is going to take a united world to do that. And I think ET could truly help in that, especially if they come here and they come from a united world. I really think that it'd be much easier to, I guess, sell it to our population, to help them to understand that you're looking for if we were one world. I don't know who's going to be in charge or how it's going to be run, but there has to be a path to that somewhere. I mean, some way, somehow. I mean, I don't know after World War II if it was possible or not. There was a lot of hurt feelings. A lot of people were angry. I don't know. But today, the world seems to be different. I mean, yes, we got problems right now. We could end up in World War III. But really, for the most of the world, we are all kind of just trying to live together. Unfortunately, Russia just doesn't want to behave itself. But the rest of the world is really just trying. Even China, I've noticed, has backed off of things and moved off of things. They understand. But how do we get to that point? I guess, to me, the only way I can see it is extraterrestrial contact. I can't really see us getting there without it, unless we get into another major war or something, which I would rather not see.
Well, but the caveat is that, we only have this planet right now, and everyone's complaining about it, and there's all kinds of bigotries and wars and things still going on. If we don't, we don't necessarily need I don't know if we need a one world government, but we need a one world, way of thinking. And even if we do that, it's kind of iffy if we should go out into space still. But if we go out into outer space and start colonizing, say, Mars, and we terraform it so it's just like Earth and it has water, standing water, oceans and rivers and whatnot, all we're going to do if we don't advance emotionally is we're going to transfer and migrate our problems from here to Mars, and then Mars is going to have, just like in Total Recall, they're going to have wars and rebellions and terrorists and all that other shit we have here. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you see any other way of doing it without extraterrestrial contact, Stephen? I mean, can we become a one world? I mean, we need to get there. There's 8 billion of us. Sooner or later, we got to all start agreeing on something. So, what do you think? ET might be the easiest way to get there.
We already have ET contact. We've had it for, we've had it for 80 years to be sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What we need is disclosure. It is the disclosure of the ET presence. It is the worldwide knowledge of that and confirmation of that will be the primary driver of this worldview change. Contact, open contact, which I think is about 2 years after disclosure, and if disclosure happens this year, that based upon my assessment, which is kind of simplistic but straightforward, we'd have open contact in 2027. But I will say this: disclosure, and without getting into ET intervention, which is a roll of the dice, but disclosure is the only thing I think that can prevent nuclear war. I can't imagine nothing else that we are even remotely doing or likely to do that's going to prevent a nuclear war, which could be accidental. All right, it doesn't matter whether it's accidental or deliberate; it's the same outcome. Disclosure is our only way out. That's one of the reasons I do what I do. I could not do what I do for 30 years, virtually no funds, and no other other pastimes, just to get disclosure. That's not enough. And I've known there have been ET series since I was 16. Common sense told me that. It is the fact that the nuclear arms race, which is the ultimate last step to essentially social destruction by ourselves. There have been mass die-offs and destructions in the ancient past, but never one when we had a spacefaring civilization. That's why we need to.
And we know of.
No one here. And probably because it would be a lot of wreckage and debris. But in any event, so that I do know. And then I think the worldview shift that comes from it may allow us to go where we have to go. Not to a one world. We're never going to be a one world. What we have to do is not get to a one world, which is not possible, but to leave behind the zero-sum world. We have been operating for most of our existence, if not all of our existence, on a zero-sum situation. In other words, whatever you are going to acquire or have, somebody has to lose. You must get it from somebody else. You fight over water, you fight over women and nature, you fight over territory. And if you win, you have more and somebody has less. I mean, we've been doing this now for thousands and thousands of years. And it is, of course, a stupid approach, but a logical outcome of the natural selection of the species, which is the driving force in evolution. I get that, but we are now fully sentient, and we don't have to simply follow nature's mandates anymore. We can divert, and that's been the case for a while, but not for a long time. But now we're in a position where we can divert from nature's mandates. We don't have to run this world on survival of the fittest, and we certainly don't have to run as a zero-sum game. That we have to leave behind, and we only have a limited time to do it. Post-disclosure, I think that becomes much more possible. And the philosophers and the scientists will have a lot to say about that, and they'll parse it out in language that I can't even come up with right now. But the basic idea is the galaxy is vast beyond measure. There's life throughout it. There's multiple species. And with the right technology, we could have access to unlimited resources. And so to hold wars and kill thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, even millions of people, to destroy cities and land and create destruction that has to be fixed. To do that when we're this close to an entirely different world is tragic, stupid, and avoidable. And the disclosure activist movement, which I am proud to be a part of, is seeking exactly that. All right. That is what it's for. And that is why it's worth devoting the rest of my life too, and I think quite a few of my colleagues have pretty much committed the same. We are blessed to be part of an activist movement so extraordinarily significant. God knows, the first 48 years of my life, I had no idea I would have that opportunity, but I got lucky.
No, you've been doing a damn good job. I know that.
Yeah,
Glenn, when I say united world, I think y'all misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Russia will, and all of, there'll still be Russia and China and the United States. There'll just be a global military. Nobody will be allowed to have a military. And it's not like the UN, because the UN is worthless. Okay, let's not go there. Let's leave the UN alone. It can't do anything because too many big countries have veto votes. So if we want something, it gets vetoed. They want something, we veto it. It doesn't work. You need something where the world can vote. This can be your leader. We don't have the military. We have the outgoing military or whatever. Something, a peacekeeping force around the world. And basically, we need to disband all the nukes. We don't need them for anything. We don't even need them now. They just need to go away. We were working on it, and then all of a sudden we stopped. Who was it, the one that stopped the treaties to proliferate? Was it Bush? I forgot who it was, but no, we had treaties. Everybody was getting rid of their nukes. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. The United States and Russia were getting rid of their nukes. And then I forgot what happened. Somebody got mad about something, and short range or missile or mid range nukes. I don't know what it was, but they broke the treaties. So there's not a treaty anymore. So technically, if the U.S. and Russia want to, they can go back to building. But Russia's like the United States. They know they have plenty enough nukes to end the world. So they, when you talk about the ones just on missiles right now, there's over 6,000 of them. That's plenty enough to, well, let's just say, put us back to the Stone Age. That's as politely as I can say it.
No, what that means, we can sterilize the planet, and there will never be a Stone Age.
That's only if we shoot the southern hemisphere, but most of that's going to go in northern hemisphere. But it's we're in a bad shape right now. We need to stop. And the bad part is, I know Putin understands that because he has children, and when he's been asked about it, he doesn't want to use. So his answer the other day, which just floored me, was, well, we wouldn't use a nuke, but we might use a tactical nuke, like a 1 kiloton. It's still using a nuke, granted. And what's the world going to do if he drops a one kiloton nuke on Kyiv? Well, somebody's going to nuke his ass back.
Yeah.
I just, and then there you go. That's World War III.
And I think London's closest, but yeah, that'll spark off World War III for sure, I would think.
I'm ready for some peace and quiet. It looked like the world was headed there for a while. For a while, there was no wars going on. And right now, there's only one war. Trump's ended, 7 now? So there's only one war going on right now, and that's the Ukraine and Russia. And both these guys are egotistic. No, it was actually, that's what I thought it was, but I was listening to, what's her name, Levitt last night. It was 7. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Jazz, as Florida as you are. And I think some of these were more like little brush skirmishes. But anyway.
But still, I mean.
He ended them. So right now we've got the Ukraine. Do you realize if he ends this war, there'll be no wars on our planet? First time that I know of since I've been alive.
Well,
so
I
would like.
Still going on, isn't it?
No, actually, Hezbollah, I think, said they're gonna. Anyway, we'll get. That's not for today, but we'll talk about that on Friday. But it's. I just don't know how. I mean, so you got 3 big egos at work here. Believe it or not, Zelensky's got a huge ass ego.
Oh my
Putin's
God.
got a huge ego, and Trump's got a huge ego. So I don't know how you're going to get to.
Jinping has one too.
So somehow I know that has to work itself out. I'm. It's not what I do for a living, so I would do something differently. But hopefully they'll come to an understanding that war will end, and then everybody can go about really doing a kumbaya thing and having a better world, or at least start working on a better world. I mean, it's not that our world's horrible. I mean, we got a lot of good people on this planet. And we got a lot of good people who want to see disclosure, just like I do and Stephen does and you do. There's a lot of people here. I'd say 4 billion people at least want to see it. I can't say everybody because I don't know enough about Africa and South America to know for sure, but there's a lot of people here who would like to see it. And I really do think if you see a race that comes here that's organized, has its stuff together, it's a one world government, I really do think it will help push us in that direction. And we don't know if there's going to be any technology. Will they give us anything? Will they extend human life? We don't know any of that yet. I mean, that's all stuff that's possible. And you see parentheses possible, but will it happen or not? I don't know. All I need right now is just
Joe. If we go back to Reagan said almost the same thing. He said, we need to be a one world government. And what would you think if some force from out of this solar system attacked the planet? We would all unite pretty quickly and forget our differences. He had that speech 7 times and nothing came of it then. So
yeah, Reagan scared me a little bit because he also instituted Star Wars, Pine Gap, and the HARP facility. He knew something that kind of worried me a little bit, but what it was, I don't know. He took it to his
Pine
grave.
Gap started in '68. I don't think he had anything to do with that one.
No, the reorganization of Pine Gap, where it started shooting things down to when HARP started shooting the Pine Gap, that was a whole different thing.
Particle beam.
Yeah, they were testing that big particle beam out. People, whatever this thing is, it's big and it's bad and it's nasty, and it's not designed for anything on this planet because it would do irreparable damage to our atmosphere.
Just look up STS-48 on YouTube, and you'll see a unusually slow-moving white dot that zips out of frame very quickly just before a particle beam shoots where it would have been.
Yeah, that's a great video. It's actually coming from Australia. It's a great video, people. Everybody says it was a chunk of ice, and then they say, "Oh no!" and the thrusters made it move. But obviously, you can see this big, thick beam coming up from our planet. It's almost like the UFO is messing with it because it was kind of waiting for it, and it just turned around and disappeared. It's a great video. It's just more proof. There's so many UFOs taken by the STS team. It's not even funny. You got Apollo, Mercury, Gemini. There's also all these astronauts have talked about seeing extraterrestrial craft. We've now got
one of our original moon projects out, Gemini and whatnot, all the way to Apollo. Every flight that went up had a UFO encounter. Every flight.
It's just and then just recently, this cracks me up. So the government for 2 decades, the Dark Knight satellite doesn't exist. Yesterday, Space Command said not only does it exist, but it turned around. Okay, so that's some kind of disclosure. I don't know what you want to call that. That one just kind of threw me for a loop. I'm ready for it. Besides, Stephen, if we go to Mars, we add like 35 years to our life. Did you know that? If you've got first off, you won't have to take any kind of medicines like you get high blood pressure, things like that. There won't be any pressure on your heart anymore because of course, the gravity there is far less than it is here. Also, if you got arthritis and things like that, it won't be no more compression on your disc. They were talking about this the other day. Actually, Mars would be a much better place for people over the age of 60 to go live. They said they could actually probably add 30 to 40 years to their life. I was like, well, how are we going to get there, people? Tell me how we're going to get there. I might go. I might not go. I'm
2 words. Elon Musk.
No, we'll worry about Elon when he does it. That's one of them seeing and believing things to me. I like Elon, but I still think it's seeing is believing, if you ask me. So, Stephen, on a completely different subject here, what would you tell people in this country? What could they do to help to drive disclosure? I'm talking about just everyday people who are listening to us right now. Do you have any advice that could actually maybe help them to start helping to drive disclosure? I mean, how could they go about doing it?
They are. There's a very substantial, more than enough people now pressing forward on this to get the job done. You don't have to have 80% of the population. You've got substantial organizations that have formed recently, virtually anticipating the post-disclosure world and giving substantial gravitas to the disclosure process that's underway now. UAP Disclosure Fund, the Soul Foundation, New Paradigm Institute, and others. In fact, they're even starting to form alliances and coming together. All of them are either 501c3 or 501c4. I'm a 501c3 now, nonprofit. And my next thing is, as soon as I raise $20,000, I can lock down the site and the date for the Next X conference. You talked about them earlier. I had 6. The last one was 2010. I'm time for another one. I want to hold X conference 2026, but I've got to raise at least 20,000 to do that. As soon as I have that, I'll set the date. There's citizen efforts underway. New Paradigm Institute has got a whole section there where you can easily contact all your members of Congress and so forth. Tell them what you want. There's huge media coverage now. I'm up to 7,000 articles in my archive since 2017. And if you go to Paradigm Research Group and just find the print media archive, you can read all 7,000. I think there's a total of 16,000, but the news media is now on our side. They're covering this extensively. But probably the most significant thing that may be about to happen is this. And here's how I frame it. I know X amount about the ET reality, ET presence, what we know, what they've done, and so forth. I mean, the total amount you could learn is you could take your whole life. There have been thousands of books, but I know a good deal. And it is my view the most important thing we know about ETs, and that's what I call them. I don't think they're from another dimension, and I don't think they're from the future. I think they're extraterrestrial, and they have told contactees that they are from other stars. That the most important thing that we know about them is they turned our nuclear weapons off. Not once, not twice, but maybe 6 or 7 times. Yep. And they also turned off Soviet ICBMs.
They did the opposite with the Soviets. With the Soviets, they turned them on. With ours, they turned them off, which either way you do it, it's scary.
Let me clarify. They turned them off in both countries.
Oh, did they? Okay.
One occasion in each country, they turned them on. Okay? And so the turn-offs and turn-ons, but just one turn-on. And that's when they set them into launch mode, and there was nothing we could do except it stopped at the very last second. In any event, this what I call nuclear weapons tampering is the most important thing we know about them, because we still don't know why, but that why may be quite profound. All right? So take that and then consider where we are now, where we finally started hearings. And so my number one task right now is to get what I believe to be the most important witnesses still alive, and they're dying off at a relatively, well, they're dying off.
Yeah, they are.
Because the events they're firsthand testifying to are now 81, 82, 83 years old.
Yep.
And they have wanted to testify under oath for Congress for 30 years when they really started to make an effort, supported by the enormous research of Robert Hastings and UFOs and Nukes, plus the documentary that was made from that. Bob Salas has written 2 other books as well. So they have won, but these are the most important witnesses, as far as I'm concerned, out there. Not Grush, not the ones that have testified so far. God bless them. I was there. All important. These are the most important. These are the ones that the Defense Department fears the most, and they have done everything they can, short of doing something really bad and illegal, to keep that from happening. So my job right now, the most important thing I'm doing, is trying to convince whoever is holding a hearing, and right now that's Burleson is now in charge of that, to bring in Robert Salas, David Shindeli, and Robert Jacobs at minimum to testify to not only the firsthand shutdown of our witnesses, but firsthand presence when a video was taken of not a ball of light, but an actual craft circling an 8,000 mile per hour nuclear ICBM rather, with a dummy warhead and knocking the thing off. And that film still exists, and a couple of people have said they have seen it, though it is still classified and not available. So Jacobs is the first-hand testimony to that. Now, in addition to these 3 gentlemen, there's at least one other that's quite ill that might come under help, with a great deal of help. But more important than that, and this is what the Department of Defense is really worried about, is that when these nuclear weapons were shot down, the officers that were the SAC-based officers in control of the silo were of a certain age, but the men up top, the security people who actually stood up, looked up and were watching this damn craft the whole time, they were younger, not officers, had families, and so they are also potentially witnesses, and there are, oh God, probably 10 times more of them than there are SAC-based officers. So I think the DOD understood that. So there was a limited amount of pressure they could put on people like Salas or Jameson and some of the others, Shindeli, but they could put a lot of pressure on those non-officer security guys. And so what they did is they threatened them with everything you can imagine under the sun, and then assigned them to the 4 corners of the earth, many of them going directly to Vietnam. And so as a result, very, very few, almost none, maybe 1 or 2, Mario Woods may very well be one of these individuals, have come forward, but they're out there, right? And if the circumstances were to become safe enough, they could very well start coming forward. And you could have 10, 12, 15 of these now in their 70s gentlemen who served their country, were present when the craft flew over the site and turned the missiles off. The DOD is scared to death this would happen. So right now that is underway. There's going to be a hearing on the 9th now. It hasn't been formally announced. None of the nuclear witnesses, I believe, are going to be called. However, all of the members of the task force, the Secrets Task Force, and all of the previous members of the House Oversight Subcommittee were all given by me 2 sets of written copies of the affidavit statements of these witnesses, including Jacobs, as well as the electronic copy of the affidavit, of these affidavits and witness statements. And I've met with Mace, I've met with Burleson, I've met with Moskowitz's office, and I'm going to keep meeting in hopes that if the next hearing after this one, they will finally be brought in. Now, to put a period on this sentence, and to give you an idea of how powerful they would be, these would be the best witnesses. They would literally set the world on fire. The DOD became so worried that this could happen that the DOD did something bold, stupid, and disgraceful. And that is, they reached out, those who do that kind of thing, and the DOD reached out to the Wall Street Journal and said, would you like a great story? We've got a number of people here inside that would be happy to talk to you about these things that have been going on, about this subject that is now commanding so much attention inside firsthand. Great. And so they sent 2 reporters to deal with this, Joel Sheckman and Aruna Viswanathan. Sheckman led. I interviewed with him for 60 minutes, and I wasn't happy. I could tell that why is this person a national security reporter for the Wall Street Journal? He didn't seem to have the chops. He was kind of arrogant, dismissive, but I gave him information. I gave him the information I just gave to you and a lot more, and that's fine. And I gave him the contact info for Bob Salas, and he went and interviewed Bob Salas. Okay, so far so good. On June the 5th, the first of 2 stories dropped, and I couldn't believe it. If you go and read the Wall Street Journal stories of June 5th and I think June 8th, whatever, these are 2 stories, two articles rather. The first article is the most important. And this is what the DOD thought they could get away with. And this is what they told Sheckman and Viswanathan. And this is what they wrote up. I'm not saying that they were in cahoots. I'm not saying that this is conspiracy. I'm saying that this is what they told the reporters as inside people provided by the DOD. And this is what those reporters wrote up. Now, could those reporters have maybe thought about it and said, wait a minute, this isn't adding up? I don't know. That's not my business. The point is, they wrote the articles. The first half of the first article of June the 5th actually tried to diminish a significant component of the entire evidentiary body of evidentiary evidence on this subject, as compounded and expanded the idea that pretty much everything has been seen. That was us. Not only was it mistaking things we were doing as, quote, UFOs, UAP, ET, but we were deliberately putting stuff up there that would confuse them. And they were mistaking that. And so that explains so much about what we cannot resolve yet and all these unproven stories yet. And then they went after Salas. And so in the second half of the story, to sum it up, they said Salas and Chandeli and Jameson and these other witnesses actually had it wrong. They did not, there was no craft hovering over the base. And what turned off the missiles was a highly elaborate EMP testing we were doing back then in 66 and 67. We built a giant EMP device near the facility that they mistook for a glowing craft overhead. And we turned off the missiles. And obviously they must have done it 6-7 times. And apparently they were able to do it in Russia. Now, this is a complete lie. It's
wouldn't those systems, wouldn't those systems be hardwired against that kind of thing, right?
What now?
Wouldn't those systems, those missile silo systems, would be hardened against an EMP?
Oh, God. Well, we didn't have the capability to provide that level of EMP force. Plus, it would have turned off the electricity in probably half a state. But to really make it interesting, one of the people working for the DOD that investigated the shutdown, contacted me immediately. He said, I was on the investigative team. We eliminated the EMP explanation right away. Right. So essentially they tried to make Bob Salas a liar. They picked on him because he's the lead.
Yeah.
There's all these other witnesses. They didn't even go there. So this is an abomination, but it is important because the reason they took the risk and will suffer the consequences of this god-awful Wall Street Journal high-level story is because the nuclear weapons witnesses, as long as they are still alive, are the most important witnesses that will bring down this house of cards if they ever get a chance to testify. And so all I'm saying is things are getting interesting. The defense contractors had to out themselves in order to gut the first UAP Disclosure Act and virtually validate, because they could not stand eminent domain. They got the tech and they got the bodies, which validated Grush. And now the DOD is coming out to try to undermine a national hero, Bob Salas, because they're scared to death that he'll come in and validate the shutdown. And then this is the real important point. The shutdown of these nuclear missiles is directly tied to the nuclear arms race and other messages they have provided to contactees about this. Shows that the nuclear arms race and the ET, a major component of the ET presence, are interlocked. And we need to find out why. Why did they turn these nukes off? Why did they care that we have them or that we might use them? Why are they telling school children and warning school children about a coming apocalypse if we don't change our ways? And these kids, of course, have carried that their whole lives, but it has certainly got out. It has been covered. It's added to the evidence. Why are they doing this? I think this is the most important thing we need to run to ground. Why did they shut them down? Why do they care about our nukes? What would they do if we had open contact? Is this, in fact, the most important path that we need to follow? Because it results in the end of nuclear weapons in a post-disclosure, open contact world where we actually create the world that you want, the zero-sum world, where we stop destroying and start building. And maybe with the possibility of some ET tech provided in the mix, we are able to go places we couldn't imagine now. That is how important those witnesses are. And my job is to get them in front of a hearing. I'm doing my best, but I'll tell you, somebody wants to help fund PRG. I could do a hell of a lot more, though there are other organizations that know about these witnesses. It isn't easy because when the DOD really wants to dig in, it can dig in. And it dug in on this. Read those articles if you know about this issue. They're on my archive, or you can Google them really easily. Read those articles, read the June 5th article, and ask yourself, how in hell could a major newspaper actually allow those articles to be published? And how in hell did the DOD think that they would actually get some sort of win out of those articles? Those questions have answers, and I think those answers would be quite revealing.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I don't know if it'll help you or not. I've got a meeting with the ICAR staff coming. We've got about 70,000 members. So I'll bring this up to see if any of them have any money. And then from now on News on the Flip Side in the chat, which both have large audiences, I will just talk a little bit about PRG and say, hey, look, we're just trying to get another X conference going. If you can help out, here's Stephen's email. Go ahead. Stephen, I don't know if it'll help you or not, but we'll do our share to try to help you.
And
yeah, I am a nonprofit now, and there is a donation portal right on my page, very sophisticated, and it would be very easy to send funds to PRG, and those funds will go toward our next conference and towards my work to try to get those nuclear witnesses in front of a committee under oath.
I'll put it up in the chat room for everybody to see.
Thank you.
You gotta tell me. I don't know what it is. Can you tell? I'll type it up. You spell it for me.
ParadigmResearchGroup.org.
Okay.
Right.
Be easier for you to look it up, but well, I mean, we deal with a lot of groups these days. So every group we deal with, I'll bring this up with them. Matter of fact, I got a completely different note. I got a Bitcoin meeting coming up with some friends of ours who do Bitcoin. So I'll bring it up with them.
Hello. Yeah, if you got into Bitcoin early, because by the time I figured out blockchain. It was too late, right?
Yeah.
You know, I have a degree.
Well, I got into it early, but I should have held on to it longer. A friend of mine talked me in 2013 to buy 100 coins, but I didn't have the foresight to keep them. I got rid of most of them. 2019.
Well, at least you gave it a shot, Joe.
I did. Well, I didn't know her name is Kim. She's out of she owns an investment company in Hong Kong, and you should have kept it at 25. I said, yeah, I should have. Worth a lot of money today, but hey, I'm not going to complain. I mean, I made probably 50% of what I invested in, so I'm not complaining. It's just I wish, I never did see where they were going to go, where they went, which is my bad. But still,
no, you couldn't. But a lot of young people saw it and they invested, and you got a lot of young multimillionaires out there.
Oh yeah, they are too.
These multimillionaire kids who saw blockchain, understood Bitcoin, and a lot of other things, including AI. They're going to spend a hell of a lot more time in the post-disclosure world than you or I, and so they have a chance to help bring it on, and be part of this incredible change that's coming. And so again, I'm not set up to receive Bitcoin, but I can sure as hell fix that in a couple.
Well, like I said, I'll meet with them in September. Most of them are Asian, by the way, but most of them are very wealthy too. They're not my poor, but I'll bring it up with them, and everybody we deal with, I'll make sure it stays on our shows from now on. So we'll set up. If you want, you can make a little commercial. And we'll just play it on the big shows, and even Michelle will play it because she likes you too. So
I need to do something like that.
If not,
on my list.
But for right now, we'll do something. Just would you like to help? We'll do something. Would you like to help out PRG? And we'll give a little description, and then we can put that on the stations and have our host run. I mean, these days. Station's way bigger than it was first time you came on, and then that has a lot to do with Michelle. I mean, we're running 35 shows with 40 hosts these days. It's getting out of control. Actually, it's so big that we're fixing to split it and have two stations: UFO Paranormal Radio and United Public Radio. And because we do a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with paranormal anymore. We got a lot of self-help shows, all kind of shows. Anyway,
shamanism.
You name it. Matter of fact, you know who I can talk to? A good friend of mine, Fred Smith. He works with the UN. He does lectures for the UN. Matter of fact, I was just one with him Friday.
Here last week.
Yeah, he did a fabulous lecture with the UN on how to. You know what he does? He's the guy who helps you to get money for your projects. I'll talk to him this week, and I don't know if he can help you now, but I'll talk to him and see. But anyway, I mean, we're gonna offer whatever we can. I mean, I always liked your work, and I always love the X conferences. So,
well, by the way, the X conference that I'm planning will be in the National Press Club, 2 blocks from the White House. That's where it's going to be.
Oh, I love the National Press Club. I've been there a lot lately, and it's man. Now I know you're there, I'll look for you next time they drag my ass into there. It's Carolyn. What? Stephen's been doing this a long time. Yeah, he's been doing this a long time, and like I said earlier, he's one of the few people I respect in the field. So, y'all know how I am about the field. Don't. That's not on this show. We'll do that on another show. But it's
we can curse freely.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that. I have learned the hard way over the years that some people are here to really help, and some people are not. And some of the people were actually a big disappointment to me because they were heroes of mine. And later on, I found out, well, guess what? I was a big dumbass. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not going to worry about that. But we'll see what we can help you. I'll make sure that the hosts know about it, and I'll make sure Michelle knows about it, and we'll start getting it out there. Michelle always likes helping people anyway. She's fiery some days. She makes a great station manager, by the way. Makes my life so much easier. It's not even funny. What's that, Ginger?
Can I mention something?
Go ahead. Take your time.
I also spoke. I also went to Russia and spoke.
Did you? That's great.
Ren TV. And they used it on one of their they have UFO and UAP shows over there like we do, and their graphics are probably actually back then. This was 2018. Their graphics are better than ours at that time. So like China, they have no problem with people engaging it. Just don't get political. But when I went on that show and gave that interview, and Ren TV is the most popular network. It's national, and it's Putin's favorite network. I actually brought up Putin. I actually discussed the concept of Putin being the disclosure head of state. And of course, after I did that, I was there for a week. I got to see a movie in Russian, Guardians of the Galaxy, and went to a lot of Burger Kings and got milkshakes. The point is, I was not sure if I could leave, so when I got to the airport, maybe I'm not going to be going home. Not only did I get to go home, but I eventually got the film of the interview, the 4-hour interview, sent to me, which wouldn't have happened if there was a problem. And then my discussion, my points that I was making about Putin and about disclosure actually turned up in Pravda magazine and Pravda RU. 2 articles that mentioned disclosure in these articles. That was only about a month after I left. And so the message I got, which is why I went there, was that there is not a fundamental problem with the idea of disclosure in Russia, and not a problem with the Kremlin. But that doesn't mean they're going to do anything. And so that was then. And then the other thing I want to add is I know how big UFOs have been in Japan. I know they're strong in China, which includes Hong Kong. And I would love to go to any one of those places and speak on this subject. So if you got a connection in Asia, tell them about me. My
right now, at least 300,000 or 400,000 people are listening to you in Asia. So, well, I was just asked to go to spend a month in Singapore. I was trying to get the boss lady to go. She's like, "Ain't going to Singapore." I'm like, "It's all expenses paid." And one of the topics, I'll probably end up going, but one of the topics is going to be extraterrestrial. For some reason, another last 8 or 9 years, I've been asked to do a lot of political speaking, which don't give me. And you know what kills me is I get paid way better for doing a political the political speaking than I do for the ufology. But my heart is ufology. That's what got me started in all of this. And so any chance I get to speak anywhere about it, I go. Or if I can't go, I make sure we do it everything. And I got to say, when TASS sent me the original interviews, nothing was edited. They sent me the original interview in Russian, and then they sent me the interview translated. And so what I did was I sent it to a friend of mine who speaks Russian, and I said, "Did they mess with me?" He said, "Not even a little bit, Joe." He said, "It's exactly." So I was very happy. So after that, I had no problem doing interviews with him. But most of that was done over the net or some other little weird things. We did have some weird, I guess you would call them internet glitches, which could just be the difference between the United States and Russia. But it might have been somebody listening, who knows for sure. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I still keep in touch with the gentleman. We talk on a regular basis. He always sends me like a list of questions. He loves it. He'll send me like a mile long. "Can you answer these?" I was like, "Sure, I'll answer. Why not?" But the Singapore gig should be a lot of fun. And when I'll stand, I'll still be able to do my show live from there, which is going to be hard because it's going to an entirely different time zone. But we have a good audience in Asia. Japan, we have a good audience in. And right now, Hong Kong and Beijing are very big for us. They do very well there. But we're in, I think, there's 12 cities altogether in China. So it's all nice-sized cities. We're even in Wuhan, which was very interesting because I actually had people on the ground in Wuhan doing COVID, which was, can't talk about that here, but it was, let me just say, I still got all the videos they sent me. It was very interesting. It was kind of heartbreaking and interesting all at the same time. But anyway, Christopher, we got 3 minutes. What do you got? You just look up Stephen online. Stephen Bassett, you type in his name or PRG, it's going to come right up. Yes, I mean, right up.
Yeah,
it's very easy to find.
Ignore my Wikipedia page, which was put up by a debunker in Wikipedia. I'm working on getting it fixed, but let's just say it was put up to how would you say, give me a hard time.
Yeah, I had one of those too.
Yeah, but I think I can get it fixed. I know how to use it properly, and I'm going to be a good boy. But if you put my name in Stephen Bassett, the site comes up immediately.
Well, my first time I got in trouble because I put up my own page. He said, "You can't do that." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't do that?" He said, "No, somebody else has got to put it up." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I didn't know that." Well, I didn't know they gave me 5 tons of trouble about it.
Why?
I guess whatever, it's their rules. I didn't argue with them about it. It's their rules. I'm not going to fight with them about it. Wiki's about 50-50 for me to start off with. So a lot of stuff over there, I'm kind of like, really? Are you changing the way the world works?
Well, there are some articles over there that the public can change, and there are other articles that you can't. And so that's where the confusion comes in, is the publicly edited articles. Sometimes people put in, they hear a rumor and they put it in there. They don't go and double check their facts and make sure they're not putting up some kind of BS.
Well, Denise, if you want us to come to Australia, just send us an airplane ticket, set up the hotel room, tell us what you're going to pay us. Me and Steve both fly down here, no problem, man.
Yep,
I got a passport.
I actually did a tour of Australia, but I'm interested in Japan, Hong Kong.
Oh, Japan is great. I mean, if you get Japan and Hong Kong,
Singapore.
They're all three of those are very, very into this stuff. And what gets me is it's not, You know, it was funny in China because when I first got involved with China, paranormal ufology was a no-no. It's not that they didn't believe, the government didn't like you talking about it. And then about 4 years in, they changed their mind. They had one little girl I met. She was actually on this show. She got arrested for writing just a paranormal book. Nothing that we don't have 50 shows in this network that don't do, or 50 people on this. It was just kind of strange. She said, yeah, I did 5 years over this book. She said, and then all of a sudden they were like, became pro. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? She said they went from anti to pro. I don't know what happened. She said they let me out of jail, gave me money for being locked up, and I moved to America as soon as I could. I was like, well, I can't. You know, it was very strange. But nowadays, I know we play our stuff over there because I know with these two ladies I deal with Writers of the Future. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future. John Goodwin, the president of Galaxy Press, is a really good friend of mine, and they fly me out every year. I spend 10 days in Los Angeles working press. It's a big awards. They have a big gala event. All kind of press come from all around the world. There's usually at least two winners from Asia. So it always represents a lot of big press. There's actually people from, since they hooked up with us, the amount of people they have outside the United States has doubled. So it's good for them. It's good for us. And it's a lot of fun to watch these people win these awards, the writers and illustrators awards. Yes, it's a blast, and I usually have a good time every time I go out. But Don actually hosts a show on this network called Writers of the Future. Yes, he's just before the Arthur's Quill. We have Artsy Saturday, except for the chat. We have Artsy Saturday, Writers of the Future, which is about the authors, the professional, which Echo Chernick, who's one of the best illustrators in the country, one of the top paid illustrators in the country, and then of course the Arthur's Quill, which John and I host that day. Now there's a chat. If you ever get bored on a Saturday night, Stephen, and you just want to come listen to a bunch of craziness, there's no real politics in it, but we have a show called The Chat. It's the biggest show on the network. It's the youngest show on the network, both in archives and listeners. It's how can I say this politely? It's retardism. I don't even know how to explain it. There can be anywhere from 2 to 7 hosts. We let guests come on. It's all audience driven. There's no actual topics. The audience drives the topics, and ufology does come up a lot. Food comes up a lot for some reason. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure why, but it does, and people enjoy it. I'm like, well, it drives Michelle crazy because she can't figure out why it's as big as it is. Because it's not like any of the rest of the shows, and everybody else in this network, their shows are organized, put together, they're designed for specific topics. This show is not. And I have to watch myself because we host 4 hours of news on Friday nights, which is, it's hard not to carry that over onto Saturdays. I have to watch. Yeah. One of the reasons it's good for me to host with John, because he's non-political. I mean, he has his political views, but he's non-political in the way things goes. But he's another one that thinks that things may be changing soon. So it's nice. It's nice to see people waking up and starting to say, you know what, it looks like things might change on our planet. But we got to go, guys. Stephen, any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah. I haven't talked to you in a long, long time, and now I know what you've been up to. You've been building a media empire.
Trying.
Congratulations.
Well, you're welcome anytime on any show in this network that you want to come on.
Call me out.
Yeah, so I'll make sure Michelle books you on this show and hers more often. Well, she already loves you to death. So she said, we were talking the other day. She goes, well, what are you doing this week? I said, I made up my mind. I said, we got guests coming in September. She said, how about Stephen? I said, well, sure. I haven't talked to Stephen in forever. I'd love to have him on. And because you're just a great guest, and you're a good person too. That gives me a combination of both things I like. But anything you want to tell them? Tell them again where they can find you before we get out of here.
Thanks, Harry. See ya.
ParadigmResearchGroup.org. It's a lot there, but check out the print media archive. Understand there's a lot going on in DC right now, and that's an understatement. But we've got a hearing coming up on the 9th. There'll be more witness testimony. We've got the UAP Disclosure Act. It's going to be voted on in the Senate early next month. Then going to be sent over to the House. A lot is happening on this field, in spite of everything else going on, and there is a hell of a lot. The issue continues to go forward.
See ya.
And that's a good sign.
It is a good sign. No, I'm just glad to see everything growing. Carolyn, no, we got to go. I can't. We're running in. Michelle's on right now.
Yeah, Michelle is on.
Look, I owned a place and she still gives me hell. That's why I like her.
Good.
she'll be calling me, Joe, are you in my showtime? I mean, like, no, Michelle, no, not me, baby.
Yeah,
But she knew though.
Anyway, bye, Heidi.
She knew when she took the show behind me that sometimes I might run over because I'm a bad boy. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. Be sure to check out Stephen. He's got a lot of good stuff over there. He's been accumulating data and stuff like that forever. Don't you have some of your archives and all over there as well?
There's a lot there. There's quite a bit there, and it's but it's an activist site. I'm not a researcher per se, but it's an activist site. I also have a you can subscribe to my email list, which I do send out periodically and whatever. And I also have links to other organizations that are coming up fast. So my niche is as an activist. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a journalist. I'm an activist. And activists operate under, a certain kind of set of rules and protocols, different from these other entities, and you're allowed to do and say things that others maybe can't do. And that comes under the heading of maybe also good trouble, because sometimes you got to do a little good trouble to get people's attention. But that's my role. 30 years on, I'll be 30-year anniversary in January of this next year. Didn't think it would take this long, but by the way, one of the things that's driving this is the podcast revolution, which you helped to start. I mean, you were early. The podcast revolution is almost impossible to describe the scope and width of it. You know how big it is.
Huge.
And the truth embargo has had to withstand that, and it can't. Ultimately, the podcast revolution wins.
Well, and we've run into one problem. Some of our newer viewers, we've told them, search YouTube for UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, which is one of our pages, and United Paranormal Radio Network, and they're not finding it because there's so many bloggers that have UFO in their title that it's like it's at the bottom of the page, 1,500 pages down the road.
Well, UFO Paranormal, if you type in, it comes up. But UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, good luck on finding that page, people. If you don't have it saved,
I've had some trouble on UPRN too, though. Sometimes you get a TV network or a radio network somewhere in the country.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, but the podcasts are great. People, there's well over 1 million podcasters these days. There's lots of good information out there. Not all of it's good, but there's a lot of good information out there. We do an enormous amount of podcasting. SoundCloud alone is sitting at 800 million. Views, 800 million people. Yeah, Michelle will tell you about it. 800 million is where it's sitting at, and it's only 4 years old, so it's growing immensely. And that's just one of the 200 podcast sites we're on, not including all the live sites. So we're split. We have 200 live sites around the world that pick us up live, and then we have 200 archive sites around the world. So enjoy them for what they were. We have sites in almost every country. This show pretty much goes out to every country in the world, including. Guess what? Just tonight, we had 21 people listening from where? North Korea.
Wow.
Interesting.
So, I don't know who they are, and I don't want to get them in any trouble, but it started a while back.
Kim Jong and his
secret
police staff.
Well, it started like 5 or 6 years ago. There was one, then there was 3, and then all of a sudden now there's over 20. I don't know, people. It might be somebody in the government. It might be somebody rogue. I don't know. And I'm not going to push it because whoever's listening, thanks for listening to the show. Everybody else who's listening to us tonight, I want to thank you again. Remember, give Stephen a like, give him a hand. If you can donate $1, $5, $10, just donate what you can. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I know what size audience these shows have, so just donate. So if every one of y'all donated $1, he could do X conference till he croaked. Okay, so donate some money. You know how I am about people who don't know that. Y'all have heard me doing Christmas week when we give away every year. We give away about 2,500 books, and worse than that, we give away lightsabers. Yes. You'd never believe the price of some of these lightsabers. Some of these things are $1,000. So we give them away every year. We have a good time. So I'll be promoting Stephen the whole time. Now I know he's looking to do another X conference because I love this. Anyway it goes, I'm gonna say this before we leave. X conference is by far my favorite conference. Out of all the conferences I've spoke at and gone to, it's by far my favorite. He just does a fantastic job. And like I said, I get to dress nice when I go there. On that note, I want to thank everyone for tuning into UFO Cover and United Public Radio. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Be sure you go over and check out Michelle. She's on right now. Tell her Joe and Steve and Jay said hi, and we'll see